boys and girls, we are here on a Thursday. You know, I talk about the workday. We don't like the workday. We like to talk to talent at the end of the workday. But, and I know I'm a little calmed down right now, a little more than usual. I don't know what we're in for today, boys and girls. We've spoken very briefly at the shows, but I don't know this guy. We've never spoken at all. So we're going to all talk together and meet our guest tonight all together at the same time. Boys and girls, this is Certain Pot with Donkey Cade and our very special guest, PW Politician. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Don.
Yes. I see the fingers. Yes, that's a callback, if you will. That's a callback.
Crook.
Boys and girls, again, I don't know what we are into because this isn't my show. It may have my name on it, but this is our show for the fans. So we get to learn about the talent that we see at some of our favorite local events, and we get to know said talent maybe at the merch table, and we buy a shirt and stuff. But I'd like to kind of get a little more in depth and learn about the talent. And here we are with one PW politician. And I think I've been pondering. I only have one brain cell, my friend, but I've been pondering from this, from the waking moments to where we are right now at 1 minute and 37 seconds into this interview. How do I start this? I don't know the guy. How do I get this rolling? I've got the perfect idea. You have one of the most unique names I think I've seen in wrestling. PW Politician. I'm going to go on a limb and say PW is for Pro Wrestling Politician. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct, Don. Yeah. So the whole thing with that actually is my name is The Politician, but when I started setting up my character on social media and so forth, for some reason I really couldn't do like The Politician. So I just put PW Politician. So it confuses people to this day, and it's a nightmare and a half. But you know how the modern wrestling is. You've got to have a social media presence. And
yes.
You can tag me on Facebook and Twitter, PW Politician. But when you see my name on the marquee, it's The Politician.
I've been calling you to everyone that I know PW Politician. I feel like a jackass.
No, it's quite all right. I take no offense to it whatsoever.
Okay.
I'm glad you know who I am anyway. But, yeah, I'm one of the few wrestlers right now out there whose name actually is The something, anything. So I take a lot of pride in it.
We're going to get into the name, but that kind of brings up a fine topic because we don't write a damn thing down around here. We just go at the cuff and we roll with the punches, my friend. Is it edgy to do that? Maybe sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. So we're going to work around the name and go in this direction. In professional wrestling, I have seen a political guy here or there. Not very many. Have you tried to take a look-see on the old face page and the interwebs to see how many political kind of gimmicks, characters, personas, if you will, that are in wrestling to come up with a politician?
Well, I did take a look, and all the cowboy gimmicks were taken, so I just switched to the politician. So, but no, seriously though, to your question, there are other characters out there that are similar to my gimmick, but I define it in my own way. RWA, for example, has the commissioner. He's the commissioner for that organization. And then somebody mentioned that there's some other guy in the South who's has a very political gimmick as well. With my gimmick, it's not left or right or anything like that. When I'm in the ring, I'm presented as everything that everybody hates about all politicians.
So ball it up into one big ball of hate for the political field that some, and I could go on a limb and say many have, at the politicians out there, and that's what you represent as the politician.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Yeah, it's actually quite a difficult balance, but everything I do in there is something that people associate with any politician, regardless of stripe or anything like that. So it's actually
Okay.
quite fun to see people's reactions and hear what the crowd yells out to me.
Uh, that tickles me. Maybe a little more than it should, but I find that absolutely hilarious. Because, as I stated, not many are into politics, and the ones that really follow it are hard into politics. I'm just not one of those guys. I find it's hard to follow, and there's so much stuff around it, and there's way too many subcategories and way too many things going on. Again, I only have one brain cell for me to handle and follow and keep up with, and everything that happens in politics, and then there's the I'm going to promise to do shit and they don't do shit. So there's that portion of the politics that people do that people do hate. So I can't believe, as a wrestler, you represent the ball of hate that is that is politics. Because if you notice on my first post, when I said that you were going to be on STP, is he left? Is he right? Is he in the middle? Well, I'll find out together. And I, I really can't get over this. I'm just tickled. I name every episode separately, so they have their own little flavor.
Yeah.
I may call this the ball of hate. I'm not sure yet. We're gonna figure that out. It may change by the end of this episode. I'm sorry for that, but I do. I just find it touches me right here in my tickle zone. It touches me. Okay, let's kind of do the name. Obviously, you're not PW, what I thought PW politician, but you are the politician. Please talk to us about the name, because we here at STP, we love the evolution of a character and the evolution of a character when it moves forward. Talk to us about how the politician came about, please, sir.
Well, uh, speaking in terms of the name, I don't follow wrestling on TV as much as I should these days or over the past few years. I work hard with my day job and I participate in other activities and so forth. But I do know that NXT, for example, is a great program and they're doing a great job over there with presenting a lot of new wrestlers. In passing, when I do get the chance, I flip through the channels and I'll stop on NXT and I'll watch it. And I might do that from week to week. The unfortunate reality is, though, I don't remember who some of the competitors are on that show. I would have to be constantly reminded. A lot of them are using their real name or they're using like a made up name that's also a real name. And so when I was developing this character, I wanted something to be memorable. So I thought about it, and the example that I came up with in my mind is one of my favorite wrestlers, The Undertaker.
Okay.
If you talk to virtually anybody all over about The Undertaker of the WWE is going to pop into their head. They're really not going to think about what an actual Undertaker is. So in that regard, his name encompasses his entire presentation on television. The hat, the long hair, the gothicness of it, and everything. And if you think about the characters in wrestling, especially in old school WWE, it really does encapsulate something that's very memorable, like a total package. For example, you have The Rock. If you bring up The Rock, everybody will know what you're talking about. If you bring up the Honky Tonk Man, everybody will know what you're talking about. So I wanted the same thing for the politician. As I grow and as I wrestle in more and more different places, I hope to associate my face and my presentation with the politician.
Mm. I find that absolutely perfect because, excuse me, if not, obviously, you've brought up some amazing, amazing examples of, if you don't use something naturally from yourself, and we might get into that, naturally from yourself, and bring it as a persona, as a wrestler, sometimes it's a little forced. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get off the ground. And you are presenting a character, such as The Undertaker and the examples you've given, And those are made up characters.
Right.
Now, maybe there was a smidge of Mean Mark Calloway in there somewhere, you know? And maybe the honky tonk man, he loves him some Elvis and such, and the persona that he gave us with the country and the guitar and the music and the shake, rattle, and roll. Very memorable, as you've stated. I noticed there was the, a the theme, The Undertaker, the honky tonk man, and such. And you're presenting the politician, and you're trying to, from an indie standpoint, bring it to a level to where we're speaking of right now. Very memorable, and hopefully years to come, the parents who are having children that seen me will remember the politician. So that is something you're really striding to go for with this character. Is that correct I'm saying, my friend?
That's the plan.
Okay. You're not a spring chicken, if I may bring that up, my friend.
Of course, yeah, no problem. I'm an open book. Ask me anything you'd like. It's all good.
Starting later in life is a little more difficult in the world of wrestling. Are you finding it to be a difficult task? And not that it's an easy task, because I always say it's the hardest thing in the universe to ever become as a singles wrestler. But at later in life, instead of in your 20s or maybe in your teens and having some, again, I'm just going to say it, the athletic body, if you will, and the gym and the training and the weights and all of some of what you would expect a wrestler to look like. You're starting later in life. You don't have quite that physique. Are you finding it difficult to become a wrestler?
Gotcha. As it turns out, I've spent my entire life doing the martial arts.
Oh,
Yes, yep. I've been doing that for over 30 years. And
okay. No one F with the politician. Holy cow, did not see that coming, sir. Please continue. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I started as a child and I stuck with it all the way through. Um, I have three different black belts and three different martial arts. Um, and I'll tell you what happened. So, a couple of years ago, the WWE released a documentary on Shayna Baszler, and she was a student of Billy Robinson. And Billy Robinson was a catch as catch can wrestler, and he trained out of the Snake Pit in Wigan, England. And that was a very, very tough stable of catch wrestling out there. And so Billy Robinson, of course, also toured the world and was especially big in Japan. But Shayna Baszler was one of his last students, and she talked about how he wouldn't teach professional wrestling until his students mastered catch wrestling. Oh. And that spoke to me a lot. In the martial arts, I did everything I wanted to. I got as high as I ever wanted to go. And I figured, you know what? I've always loved pro wrestling. Now's the time. Now's the time to get into it. So, in terms of the physicality of it, it's not as bad as you would think because the martial arts has provided me, body awareness, conditioning, and how to move. And so that's been extremely helpful in my professional wrestling training. But the one huge bad thing about me starting this a couple of years ago, and I'm like 36 now, starting it a couple of years ago, the endurance is a little bit of a factor, but beyond that, I'm just sorry I didn't start this earlier. That way, I'd be so much further along in my career now than where I am at now. But no, yeah, it's going good, and I don't look at the age thing as a restriction or anything. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm getting good.
Excellent. I did not see the martial arts coming our way, friends. Not at all. Please, I was talking to Sigma. Do you know who Mr. Sigma is?
Oh,
by
yeah.
chance?
Yeah, Sigma. Yeah, he's great. He, I believe he has like a kickboxing Muay Thai background.
Yeah.
He incorporates that into his ring presence as well. And boy, is that great. He has a lot of leg strength and he's a tough hombre.
You're underselling him. He knows about 172 disciplines, my friend. He started naming these. I couldn't catch up. He has to have like 170, maybe even 173. But my point being is I'm going to kind of pose the same question that I posed to Mr. Sigma, just because of martial arts and having it in your life for so long, and the discipline, and like you were saying, the way you move your body, the way you fall, the way the torque of your body, everything is been ingrained in muscle motion and
Yes.
in your mind throughout martial arts. Did you have to kind of pull back a little bit, or find a you had to find a transition going from martial arts to professional wrestling, because it's a totally different animal? Yes, you can incorporate some of your martial arts, but you may have to pull back a little bit, not use as much torque. You may have to move differently or drop differently than you normally do in martial arts, or however. Did you find it kind of a hard transition to incorporate with professional wrestling as you were learning?
That's a great question. In my case, I have the benefit of, also being a 30 plus year fan of professional wrestling. So watching it carefully and getting the idea of things just by watching it has helped a lot in that regard. It is a performance and so forth. But to what you're saying, where a lot of pro wrestling trainers they'll gladly sing that taking athletes from other sports and training them in pro wrestling, they oftentimes do have to untrain them in the sports that they come from. In the early days of my pro wrestling training, there were a couple of like funny incidents where I would kind of do something a little bit overboard. For example, you might know Keon. Keon's been making the rounds the past several months in the pro wrestling scene. But I trained with him a lot, and we were doing a move called a Beal. And Keon is so athletic, and he can jump really high. He can probably dunk a basketball if he wanted to. But I hooked him under the arm, and I launched him clear across the ring, and he did a somersault in the air, and it was buckle to buckle. And the coach was like, no, 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 stop, stop, stop. And he had to give a speech about how to untrain folk athletes. So
could you explain, before we move on, could you explain to the fans what a Beal is? Because once we start using terms and moves and stuff like that, I kind of like to break that down so the fans can understand, and join in on the conversation. So explain to what a Beal is, because that's a big guy move, if you will.
Yeah, a Beal is where the person doing the move gets the opponent in an underhook with the arm, and you'll take a step, and you just dig under the guy's armpit, and you throw him over. And there's a couple of ways to do it. You can do a standing Beal, you could do a kneeling Beal. In this case, it was a standing Beal, so I gave Keon a little extra height there. But no, he was okay. He's a great athlete, and I've always enjoyed training with him. He's a great, great partner.
Thank you for that example. These are the things, boys and girls, that we speak of that we would never hear at the merch tables, if you will. That's why we have them come on and talk to us, the fans, and do a little sit down like this. Speaking of training, where did you start, and are you still there? And if you're not, please continue with where are you training now?
Gotcha. So a couple of years ago, I started training at the Next Gen Pro Wrestling Academy.
Okay.
It's the school owned and run by Bud Browning. Mm-hmm. Bud Browning, Gallo of the Nightbreed. And Bud broke me into the business, and it was great, great training there. I learned a lot there, and I really appreciated my time there. Coming up on about a year now, I've been training at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy in Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay.
That's run by Mike Hollow and Scott Reed. Mm-hmm. And it is a fantastic facility there, over 6,000 square feet, 3 different training rings, and we film the WFA show in that facility.
Oh, excellent. Excuse me. Why the switch? Some switch because it's closer to home. Some switch because they want to learn. Because even though you start somewhere, and that could be your home base, and it'll always be in your heart, some of the students want to move on because wrestling is a never, ever You never stop learning. So you want to go and check out different trainers and get different knowledge within wrestling. So why the move from one school to the other?
In my case, when I saw the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy opened up, I saw the facility and I talked to the coaches about the vision that they had for professional wrestling in New England. And I wanted to be in on the ground floor and I wanted to be a part of the club as they grew. And quite frankly, I'm not sure where you're based out of exactly, but if you get a chance to come up to one of the WFA shows, I highly encourage it. You will see that the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy and the WFA is analogous to the WWE Performance Center. We're
Okay.
attached to the Zoo Fitness Club in Concord. We have separate locker rooms. We have a green room where we have a green screen and we do promos and production editing and so forth. So
Nice.
the owners have invested a lot to help develop professional wrestling in New England along with the students, and I wanted to be a part of that, and I wanted to be one of the people associated with that club.
Hmm. Sounds like a wonderful, multifaceted facility, because you can learn the moves, but you need the psychology, you need the promos, you need the presentation, you need ideas, and you need more than maybe just the moves. Like, not
Exactly.
maybe, but you need more than just the move. So going from, again, from facility to facility, it's never to slight other trainers. It's always to learn more and gain more experience and blossom as a talent and a wrestler and stuff. So I applaud you, because sometimes you take these chances on yourself and sometimes they don't work, but sometimes they do. And it seems like in this case, you took a chance, you saw their vision, and the facility sounds amazing. And I'm probably about 3 hours away from that area or so. I'm in Plymouth, Connecticut. Um, and I was going to say that in New Hampshire, it's not a whole lot of wrestling going on, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Um, we're the coming out of the pandemic has been good for wrestling in New Hampshire. There are a couple of promotions that have opened up New Hampshire.
Okay.
WFA, of course, being one of them, and Atlantic Pro Wrestling also has scheduled
Mm,
dates in New Hampshire as well,
yep.
and it's going very well. It's Yeah, it's going very well. New Hampshire closed down after Steve Bradley passed away, and Steve Bradley's student Scott Reed is the person behind the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy and the reincarnation of WFA.
Wow.
So part of that is, of course, opening up New Hampshire again.
You've mentioned WFA multiple times. Please tell us, the fans, what does the acronym stand for, and where, and it's you tape and do the shows at said facility, correct?
Yep. Okay. WFA stands for Wrestling Federation of America. You
Okay.
can check out more at wfawrestling.com. And WFA started in the very early 2000s under Steve Bradley. Steve Bradley was a contract talent for the WWE, and he's noted as being the person who trained Kurt Angle for professional wrestling. They were together in whatever the precursor for OVW was under Jim Cornette. And Steve Bradley had a wrestling school in Manchester in those days. In fact, when I was a teenager, I did do a fantasy camp there, which was great. So I got to meet him, and that was
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
But a few years in the early 2000s, Steve Bradley passed away, and it left a cavern in New Hampshire wrestling. Uh, Fast forward about 15 years later, Scott Reed opens up the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, and Scott Reed acquires the WFA, and we opened the WFA, and things have been going great. So our location is suited for television tapings, and we do those there monthly. We also travel, and we've run shows in Hooksett, New Hampshire, Lawrence, Massachusetts, and there are other locations on the bill as well. But yeah, WFA is going great. We have a lot of dates. Over 40 dates were listed for 2023,
Yes.
and we're doing
Excellent.
stupendously.
Excellent. Love to hear it. Absolutely love to hear it. I'm going to have to keep my eye a little bit closer on the WFA, to be honest with you. Once it gets kind of in outskirts, my vision gets a little blurry because I only got one brain cell. I don't know if I've told you yet. I can only hold so much information, and the guys and girls start getting lost outside of a certain area, and the promotions as well. I'm like, wait, where are you located again? I'm sorry. So I can only hold so much information, but we got to keep a closer eye on the WFA and check out that the medias and the product and such. So you're obviously located up in New Hampshire. I will just gonna go out on a limb, right?
Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Excuse me. Now the politician. We're gonna go back to that because it's got me curious.
Mhm.
The Undertaker, the Honky Tonk Man. We were talking. There's a possibility. There's a little bit of Mean Mark Calloway in that Undertaker character. The politician. Is this something that may be a little el natural for the politician as a character? And it's kind of, because let me just say this. When you're at the shows, and I've only seen you a couple times, you look like you're having so much fun. You're enjoying the moments when you're there. You're bringing us, the fans, on the ride with you. And that's why my eyes catch guys like you. You give me character, you give me a little bit of story, you give me some entertainment, and you give me some good in-ring stuff. I'm there, and I'll follow you. I'll hit the old like, and stuff like that. So is the politician a little bit of el natural of yourself?
Well done. To answer your question, yes, yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
So, I have an extensive background in politics, in real life outside of pro wrestling. I've been involved in politics for 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
It started off at the local level and volunteering for different campaigns and working on different party committees and so forth, whether it be at the town or local level. And over the years, I ended up moving to Allenstown, New Hampshire, and I ended up getting elected as state representative representing Allenstown, New Hampshire.
What?
So
Wait, currently, that's
no, unfortunately, no. It's a 2-year term, and I got elected in 2020, and the term ended in 2022. I lost my re-election bid by a mere 16 votes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Son of a biscuit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it because I've seen, I've seen the highs of winning the political races, but I've also seen the lows of when you don't make, getting in that winner's circle. So I know it's a tough gig when you lose them,
Mm-hmm.
but politics, that's a tough gig, my friend, all around. And then I didn't. Boys and girls, we were kind of shitting on politics when we first started. I did not know. I didn't know.
You're going to cut the feed right now.
Politics is a tough gig. So, I applaud you for even jumping in, my friend, because there's a lot, as I stated earlier, there's a lot that surrounds politics, and it's tough to stay focused and really do the job that you have a mindset why you've got in politics. And 9 out of 10 times, it's for the people, but you don't always end up for the people once you get in and a little time goes. So I know you're one of those guys for the people, and I appreciate you for going through the trenches to get there. So again, I applaud you, sir.
Thank you. Like you said, politics can be a little touchy to people. It is like one of those buzzwords. As soon as you say it, it's politics. I don't want to talk about politics. Mm-hmm. Really, where it starts locally, and it's just a matter of getting out there and doing little things and doing things in your community. it's not what people think it is with everything we see on like cable news or all these talking heads or whatever, and all the divisiveness. Don't look at it that way. Look within and look to your community with politics.
Before I hit record, boys and girls, I said I don't do two things: religion and politics. And he's got that little the politician. He's the politician, and we were gonna hit record, and I was just laughing. Oh my goodness! Uh, Thank you for sharing some of that, because kind of comes full circle now with the politician and the politician
Yeah,
here. So it kind of comes a little bit um, easier than maybe a person who has no political views or no political background and trying. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier,
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
make a persona from scratch like that, where you have no background to it. So you having a background to it, maybe that's why it looks like you're having so much damn fun out there and giving us the ball of hate. So
yeah.
maybe that it comes comfortable.
For sure, for sure. So, along with my martial arts experience giving me like a physical starting point for pro wrestling, the politics has also helped tremendously. So, in my time in politics, I was fortunate enough to have different leadership positions on different committees and different campaigns. And it afforded me the opportunity to speak in front of crowds, how
Mm.
to ad lib in groups of people, how to be comfortable in scenarios like that. So pro wrestling, the spotlight's on you and the microphone's on you.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people, they really have difficulty with public speaking and that sort of thing. For me, I'm right at home and I'm very comfortable. Add the politics to it. I know all the vocabulary, so I just weave, political words into my promos and so forth, and it just works.
Yes. Cutting. He's he's an OG cutting promos from way back. Had way mucho practice in the promo cutting well before his wrestling career.
Right.
Because we talk about the tools in that big giant toolbox that it takes to become a singles wrestler. And one of those major tools is cutting a promo and getting us on board and taking us for those rides and such. So again, I'm applauding this politician, boys and girls. It is what it is. I don't know what to say. Excellent job.
How about a
And
donation?
okay, everybody calm down. Um, but it's one of those major tools. So obviously, it came very natural. Getting in wrestling and learning the moves, and when it's time to cut these promos, having a lot of fun. I'm sure right off the ripper doing some of these promos. You must have, because was this something you were kind of looking forward to in the wrestling, because you have to do promos and you knew that the promo thing was going to happen eventually, and once you got the moves and started getting the basics and maybe squeezing a promo, and you're like, I'm ready for this promo, baby.
The thing about promos and public speaking is that in order to have confidence, you just need to be knowledgeable about the subject you're speaking about.
Mhm.
So, fortunately, I'm a longtime wrestling fan, and just as long as I go out with some germ and of idea, some sort of point I want to get across, I can get around to delivering the point. Um, it's not really a situation where it's like, oh yes, I can't wait to do promos, because I still, get excitement and I get anxious about getting out there, getting in front of the people, but I'm used to it a lot more. And, I just really want to look at the positive about it and see about how I deliver to the fans, and hopefully they react.
You caught my eye. You caught a couple of the fans' eyes. The first time I saw you was at Shut Up and Wrestle.
Mhm.
20. Let me. Oof, it's been a minute. 22 or 23 maybe ish. Um, and you did your thing. It caught a few of the fans' eyes there. One of them actually commented when I first posted that I was having PW Politician on, and he goes, he makes himself one hell of a referee too. because we saw you get in the ring in a pinch to do some refereeing, and you were damn good at it. Because you now, just because you're a wrestler does not mean you make a good referee. We've seen it on TV time after time after time again, boys and
Right.
girls. My man, the politician, he swooped right in there, and he was as professional of a referee as he was as a professional wrestler. Please talk to us about this background of being a referee, because sometimes the boys and girls want to do multifaceted parts of the business to get that in their toolbox, if you will.
Great. Yeah. No, that's a great question. And before I get started, Don, I just want to thank you for being such an awesome fan. I've seen you at shows all the time, and one of the things that you do that's absolutely wonderful is that you do record the matches for us and you post them. A lot of times us wrestlers, we're not able to get the matches right away to scrutinize ourselves and review ourselves from the promoters, but fans like you make that sort of thing very easy for us. So speaking on behalf of all wrestlers, we really appreciate it. But the different roles that I have in wrestling, believe it or not, I am still very green. I'm very, very new. And when you're starting out in wrestling, you want to make yourself available to the show. You want to serve. You want to go in there with a mentality of service. So what I've done is every single weekend for about 2 years, I've traveled to every single promotion in New England. I would show up, meet the promoter, introduce myself, tell them who I train with, and I would just offer my services. I'd let them know that I can wrestle, I can do security, I can referee, I can manage, I can build the ring, I can tear down the ring, I can do all those things. So those different things, you get confident in those from the pro wrestling school that you go to. So at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, we do go over how to be a good referee, how to be a good manager, how to do all those roles. In the case of the show that you're talking about, one of the referees fell ill that day and had to go home, and I had just a couple of weeks before, I went to Dick's Sporting Good and bought a referee T-shirt for my bag that I bring everywhere. I have I use grocery bags to separate the different things that I do at a wrestling show. So one grocery bag would have my security shirt, black pants, black shoes, and I threw my referee shirt in there. My other grocery bag would have the politician gimmick, and another grocery bag would have my training gear and so forth. But anyway, you always come prepared to a show, ready to serve, ready for whatever they need. And refereeing, when I stepped into that role, I didn't want to do it like you said on TV. You see some wrestlers trying to jump into the referee role. They can't mix too much of their gimmick and referee into it. It just doesn't work. It doesn't come out right. So I took the approach of just being a solid referee, sticking to my role, not putting the spotlight on myself, but being a good referee for the match and doing what I needed to do. I figured that people, the fans or the bosses at the show and the wrestlers in the ring, they would just respect me more if I just stuck to the job that I was assigned. Now, in the back of my head, I'm rolling my eyes thinking, oh, great, I just wrestled this match and gimmick, and now I'm coming out here as a referee. What are the fans going to say? Yes, I was thinking that, and, a little bit worried about it. But I feel like by the end of those two matches that I refereed, that, the fans caught on. For the story of those matches, I was just the referee.
You were. And the fan that I mentioned that wrote about the refereeing, a brother in my heart, one Eric Hunting. Me and him. And I know when the talent is in the ring, you don't hear everything. Sometimes it's so much tunnel vision, you barely hear anything, and you're doing the task at hand. And you mentioned one thing very specific and very professional. I did my job as the referee, not as the politician coming out and refereeing these matches right here. I came out as referee Brian, as an example, and I did my job. That's what I was out here to do. On the other hand, and not to take the spotlight and put it on me, to make sure the talent were taken care of in ring. But on the flip side of that, me and Eric, we're saying stupid shit like, what the, we're doing a couple jabs here and there or whatever, and we're having fun with it. But like you said, by the time you got done with those couple matches, myself, Eric, his sweetie pie, friend Anissa and such, we're like, that dude's pretty damn good. And we're like, yeah, that dude's pretty damn good. So you showed multifaceted in one show. Yes, it might have felt kind of odd doing that, especially coming right out. Like you said, I was just out in gimmick, and now you want me to be a referee? Okay, I got my stuff. Let's do this. And you did it. Again, here we are, applauding the politician. Very professional, sir. Always at the ready, and you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a good
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Yeah. And I know this doesn't make for good TV, but I'm just going to disappear. I'll still be talking for about 30 seconds, maybe not even that long, because I have something that I forgot to grab, and I want to make sure that I grab it and we speak upon such, okay?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
So, Shut Up and Wrestle, that was the first time I've ever seen Mr. Politician. And boy, again, when they make a mark on you, they make a mark on you. And here we are interviewing one politician. How come I can't find it? I just had this stinking thing at the ready, and now I don't have this thing at all, and it's peeing me off. Not making for good television whatsoever. Here it is. Excellent. Yes, boys and girls. Wait till you see this. This is interesting. I put a picture of this on the old face page. And oops, I called it propaganda. But what it really is a genius piece of merch by one, the politician. And if I just looked at this card and reread it, I would have seen his name is the politician instead of calling him PW politician like a jackass. But look at this little handout that he had. All right, it's got a little write-up of himself. It's got a nice little promo pic. Again, professional. It's got the name with a little write-up of himself, right? Right. And then on the back side, we've got, see, now if I read these things, that's, I guess research should have been done, because if you just read the damn card, Kincaid, it says right there, black belts in judo, karate, taekwondo. But again, professional promo pic with a little bit of history of where he's worked. He's a black belt in about 32 disciplines. Not as many Sigma. Sigma's got about 173. But this is beautiful. Tell us a little history of these handouts, please, sir.
Right. Gotcha. So this is very much so a fun part of developing the character and getting my name out there and so forth. With the politician. In politics, we don't call that thing propaganda. We call it literature. And
Okay.
specifically, we call those what you just held a palm card. And palm cards are relatively cheap to produce, and you can hand out a lot of them, and you can, squeeze a bunch of details and information onto them. So they're a nice way to do it. And we've all seen those, every 4 years when there's like an election. We've all seen those being handed out here and there and so forth. So I thought it'd be good to have some sort of merchandise that, reflects me, but also reflects politics and the politician. And at shows, when I do my entrance, I'll hand a few of those out for free to fans. When I'm selling merchandise, I might charge a few bucks to autograph one and give it to a fan. And, if I'm in a good mood that day, I might also, roll in a picture on their camera phone.
Okay.
If they buy it, that sort of thing. I put my socials on there, just to help build the brand a little bit. And there are real life rules and laws about disclosing the finances. So, like on the bottom of that palm card, you'll see paid for by the politician for professional wrestling. I thought that was just like a nice little touch. And in fact, I don't know if you can see my background. These are new merch. It's
Okay.
a Coroplast yard sign that I sell at the shows now, and those have been really popular actually. In
Awesome.
fact, the last show, I get to the show early, and I'll like actually stake a couple of them out at the entrance where the fans come in. And the last show I was at, after the show, I went to go get them. They were gone, so the fans stole them. So I couldn't be more happy. Um, and actually, the best part, during intermission, I went out to the fans and met the fans and so forth. And one kid had one of the yard signs, and he had all the other wrestlers sign my yard sign. And oh, politician, can you sign this? Sign this? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I just can't imagine what all the other guys were thinking. Oh God, I gotta sign this thing.
We love you, kid, but we hate you, kid. uh, could I just kind of go through this? What it because I just love this merch. That's why I kept it. I did not want to throw it away or anything. I kept this. It's been a minute.
Yeah,
Uh, the politician of professional wrestling has been campaigning across the entire independent wrestling landscape throughout New England. The politician isn't about empty promises. The politician provides the power of politics against his opposition in the squared circle. Join the campaign by attending one of the many events that the politician is featured in. I absolutely love this thing. This is so cool, my man.
thank
Excellent.
you.
Genius. Genius. It gets the word out, if you will. And and again, I've only seen you once, and it made me save it because I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is awesome." We the fans are easy as AF, as the kids say. We are so easy. We latch on to these little merch pieces. So you're doing an excellent job on marketing and doing something a little bit different than maybe a sticker or a keychain or what have you. So again, here we are again, boys and girls, applauding the politician. I've never would have expected. I've applauded a politician so much in one sitting. You are doing a fine job, my friend.
I appreciate it. The funniest thing about it is uh, thinking of my actual real life political career. It does cost money to make these things and actually campaign for these things. So ordering this stuff online for the politician, and I'm just like rolling my eyes. It's like, God, it's spending all this money on like this campaign now too. It's going crazy. and everybody in the wrestling business seems to love this gimmick, and they all come up to me with ideas and so forth, and everybody keeps saying, oh, you should get buttons, you should get those political
The big
buttons.
button. Yes,
And I
yes,
keep telling
yes.
them, guys, I do real politics. Nobody gets those anymore because they're so darn expensive.
How are you? I kind of pose the same question. It's kind of odd. I'm finding similarities with yourself and Mr. Sigma. How are you able to balance two different lives, running two different campaigns, one for wrestling and one in real life? Because with you mentioning the merch and stuff, it didn't even dawn on me because you are in the politic field. That has got to be a rough gig, my friend.
Yeah, the approach that I take is that if I put my mind to something, I do it 100%. So where I'm at now, I'm focusing 100% on professional wrestling. Luckily, a blessing in disguise is losing that election, so I can dedicate a lot more time to the wrestling at the moment. But I do plan on running for re-election when the time comes up as
Oh,
2024 approaches. Um, Fortunately, I can take a step back from the real life politics a little bit because, again, I've spent 10 years there and I've built a little bit of cachet there. Um, right now, I'm having the most fun doing the professional wrestling and working towards that 100%. So
mhm. Excellent.
that's how that's going.
Now we being myself as a fan and yourself as a wrestler, we could probably go for hours talking about wrestling. You're talking about being a real life politician and a politician in wrestling at the same time. When you're flipping that side over, are do your peers, your colleagues, do they ask you about this world of wrestling that you're involved in, and do they get a kick out of it? What are the responses? Could you give us a little feel for for that part of it?
Sure, no problem. So nowadays, professional wrestling is, mainstream, and talking about it in public is not taboo anymore. We all remember back in like the 90s, rolling out of the 80s and so forth, and you bring up wrestling and the first thing somebody would say, oh, it's fake or
It's
whatever.
so fake.
Right. Nowadays, people are more enlightened about it, and what you find is, when I was in the State House and letting people know that I was doing this, I found that so many people do have some sort of special memory in their heart of professional wrestling. They'll say, oh, I used to love the Macho Man, or oh, I used to love uh, Billy Graham, and rest in peace, superstar Billy Graham. But they dig it. At first, when I started telling my close friends and family that this is something I'm going to do, I was still like an active state representative at the time, and some of the early cautions I got was like, oh, what if something happens and they get a clip of you doing something, or something gets out there. And I knew, and I assured everybody that people know what professional wrestling is, and they're not going to confuse the two different worlds. They're going to know that when I wear this hat, I'm doing this, and when I wear the other hat, I'm doing that.
Mm. I you're doing something very unique right now, my friend, because I can't say there's too many real politicians in actively, wrestling. So I think you're doing, we know of some throughout the history, but right now, actively, the only politician I know is Kane, and he's doing his own thing, and he's not within the realms and the world of wrestling. Uh, I I still don't understand uh, being able to balance such a life for me personally. I mean, I have a day job, and then I come and do this some, few times a week. I'll do this thing, and I'm like, damn, I'm whooped. You guys and girls, you're doing these. Never mind what it takes to become a wrestler. Never mind what it takes to become a politician and continue that travel, that journey. You got to have a hobby. You got to have some free time. You got to have at least a brother or a sister or a sibling or a friend or something that you're going to go to a movie with, or go see some roller derby. Still a thing, It's not the same as it was, but
I
even
love
go
roller
see some
derby.
roller derby. I mean, there is a lot. These are the things that fascinate me as a fan, because it takes so much of your life to become a singles wrestler alone, just a singles wrestler. So you're doing a fantastic job, my friend. Again, you look like you're having a hell of a time out there. You're interacting with us, the fans. The fans are interacting back. That's the magic, my man. That is the magic, is when we keep doing that dance. Coming through the curtain, making a presence. You seem to be doing a fine job there. Talk to us about the gear you have chosen, because you didn't get standard spandex, flashy tassels, and all of that fun stuff. Talk to us about the gear that the politician comes out in.
Sure, no problem. Yeah. Okay. So it started off with gray dress pants, and is only what I had in my closet, basically. A white dress shirt, suspenders, and the suspenders are just a visual cue for the fans to, try and get them on board. A lot of suspenders kind of come back in fashion a little bit here and there, but you say you're the politician, you're wearing suspenders, it makes sense. I have a tie, and the color of the tie and the color of the palm card is significant. They're purple, and that goes back to um, the politician in pro wrestling. He's not left, he's not right, he's just the politician. The purple is a mixture of blue for one side and red for the other, so it's kind of like a mix between the two. So
Okay. All
so
right.
the
Excellent.
theme of the character is purple. So that was a very conscious decision.
Mm.
Turns out wrestling in those, it's pretty brutal. So I ended up ordering gray golf pants off Amazon, and the golf pants are great because they're water resistant and they're flexible and they breathe, and they're actually pretty great to wrestle in.
Okay.
The white shirts are just white collared shirts, and it's kind of funny. I save all the gear that gets torn up, and so I have like a in my closet. I have like a hanger of like mangled politician suits. After I get a couple more, I'm gonna like start selling them as merch as ring worn politician. And I'll reveal this on your show first. I haven't really revealed this publicly yet, but I do have a custom singlet, and I do wear that under the shirt and the pants and the tie every time I
Oh,
wrestle. So
really?
one day you'll see the high quality custom singlet of the politician.
All right. Excellent. I look forward to that. Again, we're a distance. I know we'll connect here or there somewhere down the road. We'll definitely connect. Excuse me. Now you mentioned that you don't watch the product very much. You'll catch it, you'll catch stuff when you can. To be honest with you, I've been kind of falling off of that TV train, my friend. I've been more soaked into the indie wrestling and the indie scene and such. I've been kind of falling off of the TV train a little bit. I do follow the pay-per-views and I kind of follow the storylines. I listen to a couple pods that do just wrestling news, no BS in between or whatever, and I kind of keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
What is the big goal? Because obviously you're talking about taking this character to a totally different level, making them, synonymous household names as the Undertaker, the Honky Tonk Man, and such, as we were speaking earlier. What's the big goal? Are we talking WWE? Do you have a goal like that you want to make the livelihood within the wrestling world? Or are you sticking with politics and this is something on the side for you? Where are you at with this?
Um, I don't really have like one large ultimate goal. Like I don't have a goal that's like, oh, be WWF champion, and not like that. I have a bunch of small goals that I want to attain, and when those small attainable goals happen, they're very rewarding, and I use that as motivation to set a new short-term goal and keep moving forward. So those short-term goals, they started off with trying to elicit the kind of reactions from the fans that I wanted. And so when that happened, I got to work harder to elicit more reactions from the fans. One goal that I accomplished recently is that I wanted to be on a poster for a wrestling show, and that happened just recently, and I'm very happy about that. I'll go ahead and plug that show since I'll be on it. It's the APW, Atlantic Pro Wrestling Mystery Matchup. It is Saturday, June 3rd in Derry, New Hampshire. So that is my first poster, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I'm doing very good for only having been in the game for about 2 years. So I'm very, very proud of that. And so I have other short-term goals like that, and just as long as I keep setting those and accomplishing them, I think I'll have the right motivation. I don't have a roadmap for the performance center or for being the next producer for WWE at this point. But small things do happen. At the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, Gabe Sapolsky has come down and done a seminar, and he comes to our WFA shows. And in fact, pretty soon we have Delirious coming. Delirious will be running a seminar for the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, and he'll be featured in our championship tournament for the WFA championship.
I seen there's a bracket that was just released, if I'm not mistaken, today or yesterday, one of the 2 days. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. We just released the bracket for the tournament.
Excellent. Because I did notice all the way to the right-hand side, it was Delirious against...
Brian Malonis.
Yes, Malonis. Yes, Malonis Delirious. That's right. Yes, yes. Well, that looks like a hell of a bracket over there, my friend. Wow.
It reminds me of WrestleMania 4. You have like two of the biggest stars in the first round of the tournament. You have WrestleMania 4, you had Hogan and Andre in round one. Here we got Malonis and Delirious in round one of our tournament. So who knows what's going to happen there.
That's pretty wild. Excellent talents that I've seen in that bracket. Before I do let you go, I did want to speak upon, because, again, you started a little bit later than most do,
Mhm.
and you've spoken about being a wrestling fan for over 30 years at this point. So I started in the 70s being a wrestling fan with my pop, probably around the age of 5 or so, going to my first event when I was 8. And we seen the likes of Cowboy Bob Orton going against Bob Backlund, the champion. We saw the likes of Tito Santana and Ivan Putski going against the Wild Samoans with Lou Albano, and names like that. What kind of era is your favorite era of wrestling? Talk to us about what your favorite is.
So my earliest wrestling memory was a main event. The match was Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice versus The Undertaker and Ric Flair, and that was a part of the build-up for WrestleMania 8. And
Okay.
If you think about it and you start there, I'm kind of at that really unique age where, I was a Hogan fan, but Hogan essentially retired right after I got into wrestling. So what ended up happening is that The Undertaker ended up becoming my favorite wrestler of all time, because I was able to watch his career from the beginning all the way to the end. So that was an awesome ride. Being a very, very young teenager during the Attitude Era was awesome as well, where I was at that young, impressionable age, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, in that era. What an awesome time. And one of the points I want to get across about pro wrestling is that pro wrestling is an art form. And no matter what art form you're into, whether it be TV, music, movies, the things that come out during those time periods follow the time period in which they come out. So the late 90s was really, really a great time in America. And as a result, pro wrestling in the late 90s was really awesome. So we had a lot of culture back then, a lot of things to really, really attach our interests to. So it was really, really a great time to be a fan and be alive in the 90s. So I just wanted to add that there. But like any addict, I stuck with it through the Ruthless Aggression era and whatever era we're in now. But no, yeah, that was my wrestling journal.
The evolution, as we've spoken about earlier, of wrestling and fan alike, mucho different. Mucho different. We talk about the style of wrestling and the way the fans reacted, and then we talk about the style of today and the way the fans react. Take away all of the interweb bullcrap.
Yeah.
Just at the shows alone, what they react for now compared to what they used to. But I want to kind of just speak on it real quick, because it was Roman Reigns. For the life of me, I can't remember who the heck he was going against. And it was really not that long ago. But they started maybe a Drew McIntyre, I want to say. They start the match with an arm wringer, or then they go to maybe a headlock, and Roman kind of whisks away and pisses the fans off. He comes in, they get a headlock, they come back, he whisks away again, he comes in. They've done, probably in a matter of 3 to 5 minutes, we'll call 3, 4, 5 basic moves, and the fans were eating it up. They were absolutely eating it up. The psychology between the good guy, bad guy stuff and Roman pissing us off and not just getting in there and wrestling Drew so he can win his belt. That's what I love about the wrestling. I don't need all of the, the acrobatics portion of the program in order to get me on board. Give me a story, give me character, give me a tale to follow. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff that I'm into. You seem to be on board with that thinking. I don't see you as more of a modern day fan, if you will.
Right. Speaking to that, so I was talking earlier about how like it's hard to keep track of the roster and NXT and Dynamite and everything. You have so many people there, so many things going on, and a lot of them are phenomenal athletes, and a lot of them are great wrestlers, and so forth. But the difference between the scenario you described and one of the issues is that you have a character there, and the character is something that is easily identifiable and something that the fans can latch themselves onto. And it becomes memorable in that case, and it becomes interesting. And when it's interesting, fans will watch it and they won't even blink because they want to see the outcome. So you get a vicious bad guy who gets in your head and gets in your nightmares and makes you think about it when you're not watching it, and you get a really attractive babyface, really attractive good guy who you also think about as, somebody who has good qualities and so forth. You think about it when you're not watching wrestling, you kind of do the job there. So when it comes down to the in-ring time, people are watching with their undivided attention.
It's hard to be a wrestling fan at times, to decipher what should I watch, because there are so much. And I'm not bitching that there's so much wrestling. I'm just saying there is so much for us to choose from. It's so hard. There's no way you can absolutely keep your eye on all of the pulses that are out there right now. But I think it's absolutely amazing for the industry because, again, there's so much, and you have, excuse me, you can create talent. You can have these shows. You can create more talent and such. I've just never seen wrestling so flourishing ever. And I've said that a couple years back, even pre-pandemic. But post-pandemic, I think there's more now than ever that's out there. Facilities and schools and shows and events and talents. And I know, the ratio, there's only one out of so many people that will become a wrestler in this world. The numbers are still very slim. So my point is, congratulations on pursuing, persevering, and doing what you're doing, because, again, it all comes back to full circle of you're having a blast out there and you are taking us on a ride with you. And I applaud you. And excellent job, my friend.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Before we do let you go, I usually ask, to give us the details of the old Twitter and face page, which we're going to get. But you've only been around for a couple years. Do you have any fun stories that you could tell us? Maybe doing the drives, if you will, because sometimes you just don't go by yourself. You go with a couple of your peers. And sometimes things get out of hand. Could be at a convenience store, or could be at a restaurant, or whatever. Could be at the show. Do you have any funny ha-ha story? Just one that maybe you could share with us, the fans, before we let you go?
It's not going to be much of a story, but
that's okay. Just share, please.
All sorts of situations happen. Just last weekend, I was at a show, and somebody locked their keys in the car, and they were told that AAA is going to be hours and hours before they got there, and it was like after the show, and everyone wants to go home, and I don't know if you know who Monty Aries is, and Monty Aries and Cassius Hall were all
He's
there.
he's he's another newer kid on the scene as of late. Beautiful, beautiful young man over there, Manny Iris.
Yep. So yeah. So anywho, we're we're finding tools and whatever to try and fish it through the window to try and like get the lock and so forth. And we were just hamming it up and making jokes and having a good time. So those were some of the good memories that I have. Is building bonds and building friendships in the industry.
They do say, the talent being day, that the shows is what you strive for, the events, and get out there and show your athleticism, show your entertainment value, show why you should be there, and all of that good stuff. But sometimes it only lasts 7 minutes, 10 minutes, and you have all of this other time between the locker room, the drives, the getting out of there and going to the restaurants or what have you. Those seem to be where a lot of the moments happen, and those bonds
Mm-hmm.
are really made and whatnot. Um, I, I'm just stoked for seeing the politician doing his thing. And again, we could talk for hours and hours, but we want to leave with some mystique, and so we can have the politician come back a little bit later down the road and see where he's at in his career. See if he's see if he's still in the campaigning over there in the world of professional. Because you never know, life changes.
Right.
Just like that, you never know where the politician is going to be in 6 months. So, if you could, maybe we could have a return of the politician, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here anytime.
That would be excellent. Before we let you go, please remind us the details so we can get on the old face page and such and find and follow our friend, the politician.
Yep. So on Twitter, it's at PW Politician, and on Facebook, it's PW Politician.
Easy enough. You make it universal, and so it doesn't get confusing with multiple platforms. The politician. I've been calling you PW politician for carry to 7 divide by 12 multiply by 30, probably for about 6 months now. Easily 6 months.
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
calling you PW politician.
It happens. But what's nice is that, like, if other promotions send out stuff out there and they refer to me as PW politician, or other promotions refer to me as I'm still that guy. I'm still the politician, and there's no confusion who I am.
Yes, no matter what, he's that guy.
Yes.
You know what? Instead of ball of hate, he's that guy. Maybe we'll do it. That sounds a little better than the ball of hate. We don't want to push people away from watching the ball of hate. That just sounds kind of sharp. Sounds a little sharp.
Might be false advertising there. Oh, this must be juicy. He's the politician. No, it's
oh, man. Maybe we could suck him in with the ball of hate. You never know.
Maybe, yeah. Highest rated show ever.
The politician, you've been an absolute gem. Again, we've only met a couple times, talked to each other for a minute or two here or there, those couple of times. You've been an absolute gem, and I appreciate you coming on STP and sharing your backstory and stuff with us, the fans.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Don. I had a great time. This was a great talk, and I'll be happy to come back anytime, and I'm looking so much forward to seeing you at the next show.
Yes, I can't wait myself. We get out there, we have fun, we push up the talents, we poke at the bad guys, we lift up the good guys. Not that we don't lift up the bad guys by poking at them, because that's our thing, that's our dance, that's what we do. But get out there, boys and girls. Check out the stuff that the politician, the WFA and the APW shows and stuff like that. Get out there, get to the shows, spend a little cash, get the merch. Look at that beautiful sign back there. Get one of those suckers from the politician. Get out there and have some fun and support the talent and the promotions. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and our very special guest, the politician. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.